Hello and welcome to another Animosaurus breakdown. My name is Kim and today this old dinosaur is going to be looking at the classic camera framing of Frozen 2. So I've just gone back and watched Frozen 2 and the thing that struck me was how simple and clean a lot of the camera choices they chose within this film were. So I thought we should do a breakdown of it. Now, Frozen 2 is the 58th film produced by Walt Disney Studios. Walt Disney Studios has been around for 96 years, so it's getting close to its centenary. So they do know what they're doing. Now there is so much in this film which is clean and elegant, and the picture itself is so technically beautiful that I just wanted to keep this really simple and just look at this opening sequence as to how they set up the movie with some really clean and very simple framing within their sequence. So in their opening sequence, I'm going to start off with this shot here, which is a close-up of the girls. Now both of them are off-center, so if we look at our center line, both of them are on the left of frame, which is fairly classic that you keep your heroes on the left. They've also gone and given them some really nice border elements to keep them within their frame as well. So if we look at what's going on around them, there is a nice shape within this shot that leads your eye around and onto the girls, as well as them being lit very much and different colors to the environment around them. If we look at yellow and blue for the two girls that are in there, but everything else is either white or dark. Another thing that I really liked about this is their framing of having foreground elements in this shot. So not only did they keep elements around the outside, but they've also got foreground elements which help the frame be told too, as well as then putting in the background more background elements which help as well show that there's depth and distance in this picture, in this frame. And not just our focal point on the girls as we hear. We look at their eyes, they're both looking down on their story as well. So there's a lot of movement within this frame that keeps it very clean. But it's a real clean frame, foreground elements, midground elements are in focus and they're our main point of interest, and then we've got background elements into the background which is not distracting from our main point of interest, but all the lines around the frame lead you into these guys. And as we walk in around the room, I really liked their choice of lighting. As they came in the outside in the hallway was really well lit, and it was lit with quite a warm light, but as soon as we're inside the room itself, if we look at what's lit, we've got our main point of interest, which is our heroes down on the ground, and they are lit by some very unseen light, which is really interesting when you look at it. It's like, where is all this bright white light coming from? Is that the magic that's lighting them up? But within that light, it really pops them off the rest of the scene. If we look at the background, all of this is just in the background back here is all really, really dark. There's not a lot of light in there. The only other light source which we see in the room is our little candle, and that's got a nice little soft glow on the dad here. He's got a really clean edge to help pull him off of that black background, and we've got the blue light down here, which is the frozen light for the girls. But when we look at the frame itself and we look for balance within it, there's a lot of black nothingness around the top. Like if we look at the frame, there is there's a lot of texture work back here. There's only really the two girls in here, as well as having, all this, we look at the shapes back here. There's a shape back here. There's the bed head over here. There's the cabinet here, and there's the picture. So the shapes are very simple. And then we've got the boarding around on the wall as well. But it's all set so deep and so dark that it really is just it's not filler. It's just there to kind of give you something else within this film. It feels very, very empty. And you know, the repeated pattern on the texture, the wallpaper, the carpet rug which they're sitting on. The carpet rug I really love that they've used, that is their frame for their ice. You know, I'd hate to clean that rug when the ice melts though. That would be so annoying. But that's really what really got me about this one was the lighting. I really thought a lot about the framing for this one. Like I said in the start, they did have this warm light in the background. Now they've used this here as a framing element for Elsa to pop up into. But we've got an interesting balance within this frame that we've got the red of the wall in the background showing through behind or through the open door, and it's very much over on, if we look at a very thirds based framing again, if we look at thirds, we've got the color and the light coming from 1/3 over on this side, but we've got 2/3 of the frame which is dark, which as we go through the sequence, you look at it as an opening shot and you go, okay, there's room. I really like, they've given room for their characters to appear. So the camera's not trying to find them. The camera's definitely just a static camera, but it's the characters inside the frame that move. As we step through, we can see that the first movement is up onto the first third. Very clearly, she takes away that light because our attention was attracted to where that light was to start off with, and the character moves into that spot. So, very perfect. It's just very clean. It's very simple. There's nothing that technical about this framing. Balanced again via light. And then we move to the last pose within this sequence, and we can see that both of the characters are still on the left looking towards the right. You look at their eye line and where they're leading you. They're looking across the frame here to the lines. Very simple thirds and middle for these two. Then as we cut between the shots, we see that on the next shot we've got the dad over here very much on the other third, and the eye lines which the girls had lead us straight up to where he appears in the scene. Very simple, very clean, very elegant. The other thing I liked about this particular frame, again from what they've done, they've kept their lighting very simple from this candles, throwing out all this light onto our character, our main character, to give him a nice rim light to pop him off the background because the background's very dark. But even within the dark background which they've got, they have got elements in here or shapes which lead us around to frame our main character. I thought that was really pretty that they've still given us that frame within a frame to help frame our main character and give the image depth, because they're really trying in this sequence to isolate everybody so that they're all very much a little tight family and there's nothing else in here. On an interesting note, if you're still really technically looking at the light from the candle would be blocked by this circular thing underneath it, so you'd expect to see a bit more shadow down here on the hand rather than the even light all the way down. Continuing on from where they've started, we've gone back to simple thirds again. So we've got our main character, his eyes are just on the top third, and our secondary characters who we're looking at the back of their head, we're just on the bottom third, which is really nice. But what I really like about this particular frame is, again, going for the shapes in the background. Whereas before we had the light behind Elsa as she popped into frame, we've now got this light and shape behind the dad, which is showing our light. And it's a very stark triangle, but we've still kept the lines in the background as well to lead us around the frame. But I really like the very simple shape of the girls here, and they've got a light here which gives them a nice rim, a simple candle light which is throwing light onto his face so we can see what's going on, and it also gives some of this highlight around these guys, but the edging and the rim light pops off this dark background again. And as we cut back to the story, we slowly get round closer and closer to his face. And all of a sudden, we find that the candle's not burning as bright anymore, because you look at how much of the light is coming onto his face. It's only now just a real little portion at the front. Whereas the window, we've turned around, we've still got these diagonals on the window, and we get a very strong light, which is what the story is here. Very strong light from the candle, and then we go into the candle, which is a really nice transition, but there's still simple shapes in the background here for the camera to be framing that particular light that they want to draw your attention to. Everything else is now in the blue hues in the background, and it's really dark. And there you have it. I really enjoyed actually watching Frozen, and can pick apart most of the sequences to go, there's some just real simple, clean, clear cameras in here, which makes it such an enjoyable experience to watch. Now, personally, when I sat down to watch Frozen 2 the first time, I'm like, really, I'm really going to sit down and watch Frozen 2. My expectations weren't that high, but when I watched it, I'm so glad I did watch it. It is a beautifully crafted story. If you got something out of this video, please make sure you leave it a like, and any comments down below for other movies that you think would be good to pull apart. But until the next time, I shall say bye bye.